made out of wood. They're pretty solid. Throughout the history, in this very place, many historical events took place. But what the building behind the square is actually representing. The deeper wish behind this building is that Stalin wanted to tie Poland even tighter to the Eastern Bloc, but also an unavoidable propaganda tool and a daily reminder to the citizens of Warsaw that they are under the Soviet rule. An oversized statue of Stalin was meant to be placed in this square. Cześć! Siemanko wszyscy! In today's video I'm gonna go through the connection between the Palace of Culture from Warsaw, Hitler, and the friendship at state that is right behind me. If there is a connection, what is the connection, and you may be shocked to find out that Hitler had some contribution into the construction of Palace of Culture. So apart from the level 30th public access viewing deck, there are a few more observation points above that, which were used by the secret police for surveillance. They also had up there radio rooms and technical spaces for the secret police. What was the purpose of the Palace of Culture? Its main function was to symbolize the gift of friendship between the USSR and the Polish nation. But in practice, it also served as a tool of ideological influence and prestige. Today it hosts concerts, fairs, science institutes and various businesses. Roughly 7,000 people in total worked on the construction of the Palace of Culture. 3,500 were from the Soviet Union, and roughly the same amount were locally Polish workers. For decades, Warszawians joked about blowing up the Palace of Culture as soon as the communists fell. And in 1990, when that happened, some even proposed this idea. Obviously, it ended up never happening, and they kept the palace for tourism, and it turned into an administrative building in public use. In the 1950s, the costs of the construction were never revealed, but is estimated to have been in the amount of billions of dollars in the current at the current value. Despite neither Google nor ChatGPT is providing any accurate information on how much the Polish government contributed to the building of this, besides the manpower, the tools and the people working for it. The Polish government is supposed to have contributed roughly 160 million Polish zloty at that time. Despite this being a gift, there was a contribution, local contribution by the Polish government. You may wonder now, where is the connection between the Palace of Culture, Hitler, and the little village that was founded just at the outskirts of Warsaw in 1950 to accommodate the workers? So, well, I'll tell you now. The connection is like this. Hitler, during the World War II, was pretty much robbing many countries by materials, one of the best materials actually. So since he spent most of his time in Poland during the war times, he spent over 3 years alone just in Poland, in the Wolf's Lair bunker and estate, let's say. So that's not only the biggest facility to accommodate him, but also the biggest warehouse of stolen goods across Europe, including gold, money, which most of the valuables were taken when the SS retreated from the Wolf's Lair, but the raw materials, steel, marble, entire blocks that were used to build the bunkers were brought to Warsaw and helped with the reconstruction, and not only with the reconstruction but also with the building of the Palace of Culture. And right there is the connection. The workers themselves had a pretty decent life for the duration of the construction of the Palace of Culture comparative to the citizens of Warsaw, since they were from USSR. They had better conditions, they had pool, they had better food, they had decent accommodation, including in the winter times. The Polish population was struggling during winter times and all year round, since food, gas and many other facilities, consumables were
Soviet town
limited, and you had a certain
Warsaw.
ration you could buy per month. So despite having money, you just couldn't find it anywhere to purchase. Originally, an oversized statue of Stalin was meant to be placed in this square. Luckily and unfortunately for him, he didn't catch the completion of works, so since he passed away, the destalinisation process began, and that's why the squares around the Palace of Culture are oversized and they feel empty. The purpose was to house such a statue of Stalin, but also it was commonly for the communist times because they were using them for parades and they needed such big spaces in order to show their might, the Soviet might. And in general, the communist countries were organizing such parades around that time.
This tiny village by 1952 housed over 3,500 Soviet workers. It was self-dependent and it had all the facilities needed that were not available for day-to-day Warsaw citizens at that time.
Alright, such a quiet area over here. Roughly 300 houses were built in this small community. You may wonder why would they build a whole state for Soviet workers. Well, besides the fact that the city center at that time, the city center in Warsaw was completely razed to the ground, they needed a way of being discreet with the Soviet workers in some way, but also keep control over them, because in the Soviet Union wasn't too good either, so some of them could attempt to escape to the West. So that was their way of keeping a strong grip over them, but on the same time keeping them away from the other citizens of Warsaw, because here they were having better conditions. They had healthcare, they had hospitals, they had cathedrals, they had propaganda cinemas where they could feed different narratives, the narratives they wanted their population to be fed. So the majority of the wooden houses were coming from Finland. They used to they sent them to the USSR as war reparations, since they were forced into siding with the Nazi Germany. They were aggressors, so unfortunately they were forced into paying war reparations to USSR, and these were part of that. These wooden houses. Which housed over 3,500 Soviet workers, engineers that took part into the construction of the Palace of Culture. This is the majority of the buildings here are out of this type of wood, and they have similar wooden windows over here. So that's how they managed to be sturdy summer and winter. Despite them being made out of wood, they're pretty solid. It's like really sturdy wood from Finland. They are prefabricated, meaning they were very easy to install, so that's why within a few months they managed to set up over 300 such houses to house the Soviet workers that came from the Soviet Union in order to build Stalin's wish, which was the Palace of Culture. So this is how Hitler's indirect involvement helped with the construction of the Palace of Culture, by stealing Europe's health, bringing it and storing it across Germany, and more specifically Poland, where he was planning to probably build some massive structures for his new estate nearby the wolf's lair. This is the majority of the buildings here are out of this type of wood, and they have similar wooden windows over here. So that's how they managed to be sturdy summer and winter, and warm, most importantly. And look at that, they have even a functioning shop in this neighborhood. I really hope this was new information for you, and if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to drop a like, subscribe to be able to keep up with my content. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye bye.